Hello guys, welcome to Daddy Share Space and welcome to my channel. So it is early morning. I'm getting ready to go into work for the day. It is June the 2nd, Monday. And yesterday I put up about, I want to say 5 or 6 videos or whatever. My backlog was very long. And I'm still behind in regards to the videos that I have in my mind to make. I need to do several update videos. And then also, I haven't done an episode of my Telly podcast. And one of the main reasons, as far as the Telly podcast, is the fact that I need to make sure that whatever I'm talking about on the Telly podcast, that it doesn't have any kind of negative effect on my day job. And that, that's obvious. It goes without saying. Sometimes we could talk and you can actually say too much and put yourself in harm's way. I've seen it happen time and time again with a lot of people. So I want to make sure that when I am sharing on a platform like YouTube or any platform for that matter, that I am walking the narrow path, doing what I believe is right, and keeping in perspective everything else that's going on around me. I don't live on the planet by myself, so I do have to consider other people. I have to consider other businesses and so on and so forth. So what I choose to do in my free time outside of work, I still must uphold a certain standard when it comes to my professional day job. So that is actually a higher priority over some of the things that I may be passionate about that I probably won't go into deep detail on a platform such as this. But that being said, the things that I do want to share is, something that's not very popular. Number one, hard work. Hard work is extremely important to me. As a matter of fact, it's germane to my faith. There's scripture in the Bible that says, I believe it's in Proverbs, if I'm not mistaken. It says that one who is slack in his work is kin to one who destroys. And that's a layman way of saying it. Maybe it's an NIV version of saying it. But basically, that scripture is basically saying if a person is kind of lazy, or if a person doesn't really put their all into their work, that essentially they're relational to someone that actually comes up and just destroys things, right? And I don't want to be on that end of any equation. So like basically, if you have a line and on one end is one extreme and on the other end is the other extreme, as far as being lazy or being destructive, I want to be as far on the opposite end of that as I possibly can. I probably can't be perfect. Nobody can, to my knowledge, other than God. But my goal is to push to be as far away from that destructive side as I possibly can be, or that lazy side. So that's like central to my being. I mean, it's part of my faith. When I was a younger person, I used to, when I first learned about God and was reading my Bible, I would be preaching all the time, preaching at people, this person, that person, whatever. And as I got older and I got a little bit more mature, I decided to just kind of keep my mouth closed for the most part and try to live out my faith. Now, of course, I'm still not perfect at that, but an example to me of living out my faith is, number one, like on my day job, the way that I work with intensity. I work in with intention, and I do unto others as I would have them do unto me when it comes to, me being a registered nurse and delivering patient care. I take care of every patient like they are my family, or, someone that's near and dear to me. And that type of energy, it kind of goes out into the world, and people, they understand that, they respect that. Even people that may not be fond of you, when you do a good job, they may not praise you, they may not whatever, but they will have a degree of respect for you, especially if you're dealing with people. And this goes in all aspects of life. If you're dealing with someone that's being difficult with you, and there's always a time when you're going to kind of rub wrong with someone, and they may not be quite as kind or nice to you. But if you can maintain your composure and do what you're supposed to do, that's like holding up a mirror, and that person will see themselves in most cases. And even if they can't swallow their pride and admit that, maybe they misjudged you or maybe they were wrong about you, you will earn some respect in that person's eyes and that person's heart, even if they never tell you. And even if they don't, you know, you don't do the right thing for praise or for people to, you know, give you something or do something for you or even acknowledgement. You do it because it's the right thing to do, or at least that's why I try to do it. Now, like a baseball player at bat or like a basketball player shooting a ball, even the best do not hit 100%. They don't shoot 100%. There's a like a process, and also there are results. There are so many different things, so many different ways to measure success. And I think a lot of times when people talk about Christianity, if you hear that someone's a Christian, sometimes you can have this stigma or this judgment that, oh, this person's perfect, or they think that they're perfect. And I think an easy way to communicate to people that, especially people that are non-Christians, about Christians, or, you know, people that claim to walk in a different way, I would say look to professional sports. That's a good example. That's a good way to kind of gauge Christianity or any, you know, thing like that. And what I mean is, if you take someone like a Michael Jordan, who's considered to be one of the best basketball players of all time, you know, if you get a chance, go look up his stats. Look up his free throw shooting percentage, his three-point shooting percentage, his field goal percentage. Look up all of these numbers, and what you will see that he wasn't 100% in any of these things. He just performed at a higher standard more consistently than other people that came before him. Now, there are people that average more points than he did at different times in their career. There are people that average more assists. There are people that shot better from three-point range. You have all these things, but it's the cumulative body of work that actually puts a person like Michael Jordan in the what they call the GOAT tier, greatest of all time. It is not perfection. And it's the same thing when you start judging a Christian or anyone like that. You look at the body of work. If you see, like, say someone call themselves a Christian and they're doing everything wrong, everything that is not in line with the Christian faith, then, you know, you have to question whether that person's a Christian or not. On the flip side, if you see a person that calls himself a Christian and they do a market, I'm saying that wrong, and they do less wrong than you would see in another person, that's how you kind of have to start that grading scale. And you'll see people that are perform better and some people that perform worse. You know, like if you think about in baseball, the highest percentage batters, right? I mean, it's considered great if you're hitting in the 300s. That's like 30% out of 10, right? And so that's how you have to look at Christian faith as well. You strive for perfection, right? I heard it said a long time ago by a guy, you know, you shoot for the stars and then at least you'll land in the tops of the trees, right? And that's my approach to my personal faith walk. And in everything that I do here on my Daddy Share Space channel, I'm trying to communicate, number one, my faith through my work ethic and through my consistency. Recently, or just yesterday, I put up a video about the Festool Conturo and the Planex, and those were not necessarily the last tools that I've decided I'm going to buy for my Festool shop, but I set a goal in mind, and I was hoping to be a lot further along in my woodworking and in my building skills than I am now, but I've had a ton of life events that I am not going to share on YouTube that have thrown a bunch of monkey wrenches in my plan. But the part of the plan that I was able to fulfill, or to get to this part, or this milestone, is I set that standard that I wanted to build a Festool shop, right? And I know a lot of people may be put off by something like that. They may see it as arrogant. They may, however they want to see it. The reality of the matter is I set a goal for myself, a public goal, and then I work towards that goal. And I will be doing an update video that goes over all the Festool tools that I've accumulated to this point. And I may touch on a few of the tools that I still may consider getting in the future. But for the most part, when you look at the percentages of whatever, I made a statement, and then I've been able to back that statement up with action And so then going forward, that should build some degree of social rapport, even if I have people that doubt me or that speak derogatorily about me. I made a verbal statement, and then I brought it to fruition with God's help. And so that adds a degree of value to the things that I say. And it's very difficult to build up a reputation, but it's very easy to destroy it, right? You could do one thing and totally tear it all down. If I come on a public platform and, openly lie about something, that's going to do more harm than all the work that I've done up to this point in building my channel and basically putting myself in a position where I have a fully complete shop to be able to build all kinds of things. I mean, I've had a person in the comments mention way back that I have enough tools to build a house. And yeah, I mean, I would say I could agree with that sentiment for the most part. Going forward, now that I have essentially built my Festool shop as far as the tool part, now I want to turn my attention to more of the functionality of the shop. So for me, functionality comes before aesthetics. And so you're going to see me building a lot of probably questionable things on my channel. Earlier on, when I was doing the Daddy Share Space, I think it was the Daily Shop. That was a long time ago. I was able to come home from work and I would just go out in the garage and I would spend, from like say 5 p.m. to about 7 p.m. working, cutting wood, building little simple projects or doing things in the shop. I wasn't so focused on doing unboxings at that time. I was just trying to do things every day. But I was also trying to record real time. So back then, I was new to video making and new to consistently working in the shop. Before then, I was only doing things when I needed to, here and there, right? And when I started the Daily Shop a long time ago, my goal was to try to build my skills as fast as I could by basically doing a project or working on projects every single day in the 2 hours that I had when I got off work until it was a bit too late to run power tools. So that was my goal. Now, unfortunately, what ended up transpiring is because I was doing a bunch of new tasks at the same time, meaning I was coming home, barely saying hi to my family, going into the garage and starting to turn on power tools along with cameras. Back then I was only using one camera too, so that made it a little bit easier. I can't remember if I think sometimes I was using a GoPro, sometimes I was using a Canon T6i, but that made it easier as far as to do the video recording. Now, it didn't offer as much variability as far as shots, S-H-O-T-S. It didn't offer the variability in different angles and shots because I'm only using one camera, and it becomes cumbersome having to move the camera around while you're trying to record a live video, basically, and you're just one person. So the process was I would come home, I would pull out my tools, pull out the camera, turn it on, start recording, and start doing video or start doing whatever it was that I was doing in front of the camera. And I would take that footage up, and like between 7 and whatever time it took me, I would transfer that footage onto my computer, and then I would begin to edit the video, and I would distribute the video that same day. I was under that strict of a schedule, so you can see that I wasn't getting a lot of family time in at that time. And I was doing it, day after day after day. And then what happened was I had some kind of a computer issue come up where I don't know if it was a software issue, if it was a hard drive issue, if it was a SD card issue, but something happened to where I was unable to complete my video for that day. And it caused me to become very frustrated. And as a result, I missed several days after that. And I don't think I ever went back to the Daily Shop after that because I felt like it was out of line with what I intended to do. I wanted to do the Daily Shop. That meant I was going to do videos every single day. And when I broke that trend or that pattern, it kind of made me feel like I couldn't go back to it. Now, I know that's kind of ridiculous, but sometimes I put strong restrictions on myself like that. So I moved away from the Daily Shop for that reason. And of course, the channel took a change, or took a turn, and I started to realize that as I did more tool research, that there were a lot of better, higher quality tools out there. So I started to go on a path of accumulating those tools. And that was even before I really got into Festool or knew a lot about Festool. And so over time, of course, if you do a lot of tool research, eventually you're going to come across the brand that is Festool. And then you're gonna look at your wallet and you're gonna say either I can afford it or I can't. And in my case, obviously, I was able to afford it, so I started to move down that pathway. And you're looking at like what, 4 or 5 years later, and it's funny because towards the end is when I decided I wanted to build a Festool shop, because I just noticed that I kept buying Festool tool after Festool tool after Festool tool. And, you know, for the general public, it didn't make sense because I'm not a contractor. I don't make money in that way. You know, why would you buy such high-end tools? And for me, it was always a situation of, you know, at least for myself, I want to put my best foot forward. I want to give myself the best chance to be successful in whatever I do. And so it's like, if I decided I wanted to be a runner, right, I'm going to look for the best shoe that I can afford, and I'm going to buy that shoe, and then that's not going to be the issue. That's not going to be the issue that's holding me back. After that, it's my technique, it's my training method, it's the physical things that I control, right? Because if I decided I wanted to be a runner, I'm not the one that designs and makes shoes. I have to entrust that to someone else, because just because I decide I'm going to become a runner doesn't mean that I'm also going to become a shoe engineer as well, right? To make the best shoe that's going to help me to perform at the highest level. No, I have to entrust that to people that make shoes, whether that be Nike, Reebok, Converse, whatever brand. I have to entrust that to someone else. So what I decided to do in my journey of becoming a expanding DIYer, expanding from automotive to home repair to woodworking and lawn and garden, just a general DIYer, I'm leaving the professional tools to the professionals that build them. And then I just bring my sweat equity in behind that, and then we see what happens from there, right? If my goal was to make return on my investment economically, then obviously this was a terrible plan. But being that I set out at the beginning to not really care if I made a return on my investment, but rather to remove barriers, right? And put myself in the best position to be successful, i.e. like buying the best running shoe, there's no other restrictions, right? And in the process, it's kind of like I've had not a lot, but a few people that have come on my channel and made certain comments and such, to the nature of, like, say I go out and I buy the best shoe that's available, and they're like, well, you're not even a runner, you know, you can't run around the block. Yeah, you're right. Today that's right. And I may never get to the point to where I can grow into being the best runner because I have a great shoe, but I'm on that journey. And I've removed a barrier that a lot of people have. And that barrier is called access. And the access to the better shoe, the better tool, I removed that so that I can get a true evaluation of what I'm capable of. Because now all I have to do is focus on building and focus on working in the shop, because I have 99% of the toolage that I would need to be able to tackle almost anything that I can imagine. Now, one thing that I would say that I need to consider or whatever is something like SketchUp. I had it for a while, but at this point in time, I don't want to pay for SketchUp. So I'm trying to do a little bit of research here and there to try to figure out how drafters did these things back in the day with just pencil and paper, and trying to adopt a more of a rigid technical aspect to drafting up designs for myself to help me in the future. But anyways, guys, it's been 20 minutes. I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care.